Hi, my name is Mary Tintello, and I am the director of the Western New York Comprehensive Care Center for Eating Disorders, and also I am the president and CEO of the Healing Connection, which is an affiliative program of the Western New York Center.
And I'm Dr. Rich Crapey, who's the medical director of the Western New York Comprehensive Care Center for Eating Disorders, and also the director of the Child and Adolescent Eating Disorder Program at Calisano Children's Hospital at Strong in Rochester.
So we want to welcome you to our Learning Scenario series on recovery and eating disorders. This is the first of a hopefully long line of scenarios that we'll be sharing with you, and you'll be learning some skills about how to help your loved one in recovery. And today's learning scenario is going to be about mealtime assistance and coaching. And what we both like you to do is try to pay attention to the different points of tension and disconnections you might see coming up in the first scenario, because in the second scenario, we're going to teach you some skills to avoid those points of tension and disconnection.
Yeah, and the skills we're talking about today are, one is active listening and validation, and the third one is reflection. And those may sound like simple things to do, but they don't come naturally, and they are skills that people can work on to gain in order to help be more supportive of a person choosing to let go of their eating disorder and be motivated to work towards recovery.
So Jenna, how was your day today?
Okay,
What did you do?
not much.
Hey, Dad. What's up, Squirt? I'm starving. When do we eat?
Your mom just called. She said she'd be home in just a minute.
Dad, how much oil did you put in that? Looks disgusting. There's no way I'm eating that. Way too fattening.
That's all you ever talk about is being fat. Some kid the other day walked up to me and said, "Is something wrong with your sister? She looks anorexic. She looks terrible."
Of course I look terrible, Brett. I'm fat. Look, don't you see it?
I hate those late afternoon meetings. Nothing ever gets accomplished, and now I have a report I have to get done tonight. Hi, honey.
Hi, sweetheart.
Wow, that smells really good. Looks good, too. I'm just going to go change really quick and get into something comfortable, and then I'll be right back down for dinner.
Well, your daughter is refusing to eat. She says it's making her fat, and I'm really getting tired of all of this, especially when she doesn't even want to sit down and eat with us.
Look, I'll just have whatever Sarah doesn't eat. The coach says we need to eat more anyway. It'll help with the weight training.
What do you mean, my daughter? She's our daughter. What do you expect me to do? Make her eat? Look what happened last time you did it.
Well, Sue, if you weren't so involved with work all the time and complaining about being in meetings and sitting at your desk all day and complaining about how much weight you gain.
And my stomach hurts. I don't think I want to eat anymore.
Well, while you guys argue, I'm going to go up to my room and eat in some peace and quiet. See you later.
You've already got a whole collection of dirty dishes up in your room.
You're not just going to eat that for dinner tonight. The clothes that used to fit are falling off of you. Your hands are cold all the time, and when I hug you, I feel every single one of your ribs. I've made an appointment for you to see the doctor because you're too tired to do the things that you used to like to do, and you haven't had your period in 3 months.
Ew!
So why don't you just back off? You know you're not going to win this one. You have a report to do. I have to get ready to go out of town tomorrow. And besides, neither one of us needs to sit here while she does nothing. It's like when she was a little kid. She was always able to hold out until she got what she wanted. At least now she's going to have some cereal in her.
Fine, do whatever you want. You end up doing whatever you want anyways. Jenna, just give me your plate.
So for example, when Dad said to Brett, in response to Brett's comment about the kids at school were giving him a hard time and asking if his sister, what's wrong with her, she looks terrible. A active listening response could be something really trying to get at what Brett was saying, but also how he was feeling. So, it sounds like that must be hard for you to get those kind of comments from your friends. And I think the key point about, again, active listening, it's not just a matter of not talking, but it's a matter of, as one of our parents in our parents group said, God gave me 2 ears and 1 mouth, so I listen twice as much as I talk. And I think for a lot of parents, they think they have the answers for their kids, and they do a lot of talking, and we all need to do a lot more listening. There's also a Cherokee Nation has a little idiom that says, listen or your tongue will make you deaf. And I think parents often feel like they have to be saying something or doing something. And actually just listening actively is a very powerful way to help a person know they're being understood and listened to.
That's excellent. Another skill which kind of flows out of active listening, when you actively listen, then you're able to validate your child. So I'm going to talk a little bit about validation. Now, validation is our ability to convey to another person that we understand their experience, their feelings, their perspective, and it's not the same as agreement, all right? I think parents get nervous because when we say, well, you need to validate your child, they're worried that they'll somehow be agreeing with the eating disorder symptoms, but that's not what we're saying. Validation is basically being able to convey to someone that you can put yourself into their shoes, kind of walk a mile in their shoes. And a place in the scenario where that will be happening in our second scenario round is when the mom will respond to her daughter by saying she understands that she feels fat. She is too thin, but she understands that she feels fat.
I think you can kind of talk about, here's how I'm responding to what you seem to be feeling,
Right.
So that you realize that when a person says they feel fat, they feel fat. So what I often do in the beginning of seeing a patient for the first time, often with the parents are in the room at the same time, I'll ask the patient, so do you feel fat? And she will say, she can be very thin, and she'll say yes. And I say, you're absolutely right. And the parents kind of get this horrified look on their face. And I say, so what did you just hear me say? Well, you just called our daughter fat. No, you have to listen. I asked your daughter if she felt fat.
Right.
She said yes. I said, you're right. If she said, I feel happy, I feel sad, I feel whatever, I can't tell her how she feels. And in an interesting way, accepting the fact that she feels fat is, in an almost paradoxical kind of a way, one of the first steps towards allowing her to be able to let go of the eating disorder. Because if we try to convince them that they are too thin, often they'll just dig their heels in. So another point about validation is you validate, but you don't necessarily, you help them to understand, but you're not telling them how they should feel.
Right, and another thing you can consider is, like Rich said, we don't know exactly how people feel. We're not in their bodies, but you can be somewhat tentative. You can say things like, it seems like what you're feeling is. Because that way you're not telling people what they're feeling. You're trying to just kind of give back to them or reflect back to them. And Rich has a little bit to say about being able to reflect, because it's another skill we're trying to also talk about.
Right, so reflection. So if you're doing active listening, it really means you're communicating with the person in a way that you and they are in a synchronous kind of a way communicating. And so they're listening to what you have to say, you're listening to what they have to say, and in sequence. So it's not while they're talking, you're thinking about what you're going to say next. That's, again, the active listening. Does not do it that way. It actually is just listening on one point and then talking on the next point. And then the validation, actually supporting the fact that what a person feels is real, no matter what he or she says. And then the reflective part of it is actually kind of takes that all together and takes it back to the person in a way that lets them understand that you do have at least an appreciation. Again, sometimes patients get pretty upset if you say, I understand how you feel.
Right.
But again, a reflection would be, it sounds like you feel.
Right.
Or I'm getting this kind of a sense from what you're saying.
Right.
And, we had a patient in the hospital just the other day where the patient was talking about feeling inadequate and worthless. And in the past, the parents would say things like, "No, you're not worthless.
Right.
You're not terrible.
Right.
Let me tell you all the good things I think about you." But what in therapy and coming
Right.
along, the mom said, "It makes me sad to know you feel that way about yourself."
Right.
So that was just a reflection of, I accept what you're saying, but it does make me feel sad.
And as a parent, it is hard to let yourself reflect back what you see that's painful. So sometimes it's hard. Reflection seems easy, but it's not always easy.
Right.
So when we go into the next scenario, where we'll hopefully demonstrate some of the skills that we've just talked about, be aware of where there were points of tension that you saw in the first scenario and how we're trying to negotiate these better with active listening, with validation, and with reflection in the second round.
So Jenna, how was your day today?
Okay,
What did you do?
not much.
Hey, Dad. What's up, Squirt? I'm starving. When do we eat?
Your mom just called. She said she'd be home in just a minute.
Dad, how much oil did you put in that? Looks disgusting. There's no way I'm eating that. Way too fattening.
Sarah, I know it's difficult for you to eat this stir fry, but you need to eat. Your body needs energy. This is like medicine, and you need to take it every day. I promise you that your mom and I will sit with you as you go through this meal.
That's all you ever talk about is being fat. Some kid the other day walked up to me and said, "Is something wrong with your sister? She looks anorexic. She looks terrible."
Of course I look terrible, Brett. I'm fat. Look, don't you see it?
I hate those late afternoon meetings. Nothing ever gets accomplished, and now I have a report I have to get done tonight. Hi, honey.
Yes, sweetheart.
Wow, that smells really good. Looks good too. I'm just gonna go change really quick and get into something comfortable, and then I'll be right back down for dinner.
Well, your daughter is refusing to eat. She says it's making her fat, and I'm really getting tired of all of this, especially when she doesn't even want to sit down and eat with us.
Look, I'll just have whatever Sarah doesn't eat. The coach says we need to eat more anyway. It'll help with the weight training.
What do you mean my daughter? She's our daughter. What do you expect me to do? Make her eat? Look what happened last time you did it.
Well, Sue, if you weren't so involved with work all the time and complaining about being in meetings and sitting at your desk all day and complaining about how much weight you gain.
My stomach hurts. I don't think I want to eat anymore.
Sue, I'm really sorry about the your daughter remark. I know that at the end of the day you had a pretty frustrating meeting, and I'm frustrated too, and I don't know what to do. Sarah comes downstairs while we're cooking dinner and telling me there's too much oil in the stir fry and the meat has a lot of fat in it again. At the end of the day, when Brett came home, he was saying his friends were teasing him because Sarah's so thin.
Well, I'm sorry about the sarcastic remark that I made about you forcing her to eat. I know that the eating disorder just tries to get us all irritated and exhausted with each other, especially Sarah. I just don't want that to happen tonight.
I'll just have some cereal. It's really fine, Mom.
Sarah, I know the eating disorders make you feel afraid to eat dinner tonight. I know that you feel fat, but you're way too thin. I'd like you to come eat dinner with us at the dinner table, okay? We'll have this discussion with your father and you and me privately after dinner, okay? I'm gonna go upstairs and quickly change everyone. Brett, I know you're really hungry, and Jenna, I know your tummy probably hurts because of all the arguing that's been going on between us. I know my stomach hurts and gets in knots when there's arguing going on. I want everybody just to take a deep breath and try to relax. I'll be back in just a minute.
Okay, Jenna, can you please put your game down and help me serve dinner? Brett, would you mind getting everyone some milk?
Sure.
And Sarah, I'll serve your portion to you personally.
Honey, can you just switch places with me, please? Thanks. You know, when I was upstairs and I took a deep breath, I decided that my report can wait and our family is most important. Jenna, is there anything going on tomorrow? I think you have a Girl Scout meeting tomorrow. Do we need to get anything ready for that, honey?
No, we're just talking about selling cookies. This year they have fat-free cookies, and I hear they taste like cardboard.
Jenna, that's enough. We don't talk to each other like that.
Sarah, I know this is hard for you, but you have to eat. I know you can do it. Just take one bite at a time.
You know your father and I are going to be here with you every step of the way. It's brave to eat when you're feeling anxious and the eating disorder doesn't want you to eat. Take another bite, honey. Like Dad said, one bite at a time.
Sarah, I know it's difficult for you to eat this stir fry, but you need to eat. Your body needs energy. This is like medicine, and you need to take it every day. I'm really sorry about the your daughter remark. I know that at the end of the day you had a pretty frustrating meeting, and I'm frustrated too, and I don't know what to do.
I'm going to go upstairs and quickly change everyone. Brett, I know you're really hungry, and Jenna, I know your tummy probably hurts because of all the arguing that's been going on between us. I know my stomach hurts and gets in knots when there's arguing going on.
I'll just have some cereal. It's really fine, Mom.
Sarah, I know the eating disorders make you feel afraid to eat dinner tonight. I know that you feel fat, but you're way too thin. I'd like you to come eat dinner with us at the dinner table.
Sarah, I know this is hard for you, but you have to eat. I know you can do it. Just take one bite at a time.
That's all you ever talk about is being fat. Some kid the other day walked up to me and said, "Is something wrong with your sister? She looks anorexic. She looks terrible."
In the first set of scenes, before we reconciled our arguing, I was feeling a lot like there was nothing I could do, that this was going to go on and beat me and eat me up. And I had, a fight or flight feeling, like, you can feel the adrenaline and you don't know where it's going to go. And maybe you just want to get out of Dodge and let this thing. Maybe you lie to yourself and say, I think it's going to cool off, but you really know it's not, and it's going to get worse. So you have to stay, and sort of there's that tremendous struggle inside of, saving your daughter's life or saving your family, or in the cost between all those things.
Well, as the brother, I felt in the first scenario, really, really isolated, not just from my family, but especially from my sister. Because as being the oldest, it's hard enough to stand out because, the younger children usually get a little bit more attention than the older ones. So you gotta work really hard as the oldest child to stay in your, parents', presence. So when all the attention is going on one sibling because of a disorder, it can feel very threatening, you can say, because why don't my parents care about me? Why aren't they giving me all the attention, and what's wrong? But as in the second scenario, it's a lot easier because without me storming off and everybody calming down as the situation went on, I found it easier, okay, maybe we can talk this out and just relax as a family, keep it together.
As a sister of Sarah, I feel a lot. I feel angry a lot and annoyed because I have to hear it every single night, and sometimes I just want to yell at her.
So in the first scenario, when I was playing Sarah and I came downstairs, I was already anxious and scared to eat the meal. I didn't want to come in and make my parents upset. I didn't want, my little sister to get upset. I didn't want Brett to feel bad. I was just so focused on the fear that I felt, and it just took over everything and just turned the situation into the power struggle that was presented. When my father and my mom started getting upset, I felt bad about it because I didn't want them to fight, but my eating disorder felt somewhat victorious because I knew that I was getting away with not having to eat, and then I ended up dumping out my cereal and getting away with everything, and that just reinforced the eating disorder behavior. But in the second scenario, the parents approached it like so articulately and beautifully that I didn't even have to worry about the food. I didn't have to worry about that fear, because just the aura of how they were talking to me and just being really supportive and helping with the actual feelings and not focusing on the food or whether I was fat or thin, I was able to just look at it and actually take it one bite at a time, because that's what's really important, is that all you have is this meal right now, like this 5 minutes, whatever you need to do to break it down. Because if you look at it over a long span of time, recovery seems impossible. It does, but if you take it meal by meal and just work with your family, it really becomes something that, it stays with you, and it turns out to be the best positive attribute of yourself, because you learn to become stronger as a person, but also with your family and your peers, and it just turns, eventually the eating disorder goes away and you become yourself again.
Well, in the first of the two scenarios, it was the amount of tension that was shown in there is the kind of tension that comes from the eating disorder slowly taking over really a part of each person's life, not just our daughter's life, who is definitely being taken over. It impacts each one of us, gets in the middle of our relationships, gets in the middle of how we feel about each other, how we talk to each other. The important thing is that the eating disorder is the thing that has to be dismantled. We love our daughter, we love our families, we love each other, but that eating disorder wants to make all of that go away, and the family units start to dissolve. And it's important to remember that the eating disorder is a unity or an entity in and of itself that we have to push back against.
Especially, we would say that the disconnect, it was very evident in the first scenario. When I was coming home from work, I was already tired, so I already had something going against me. Then I walked into the tension-filled room, and my husband lashes out on me. And we've all experienced, it was easier for me to lash out at my husband than it was to really try to work with the situation, try to help my daughter. I was already tired to begin with. And the eating disorder wants it to be kept in a chaotic situation, a chaotic environment, because the eating disorder thrives in that type of environment. And we together played right into that, and it, as you could see, the entire family was falling apart at that point, and we were giving up. And that's what the eating disorder wants.
So we hope that by watching these scenarios that you folks were able to learn about the different challenges, points of tension, disconnections that commonly happen in eating disorders. Also that you learn the skills that would help you negotiate these: active listening, reflection, and validation. And by using these skills, family members have told us, patients have told us, it allows the patient to actually listen to what her body really needs, as opposed to listening to what the eating disorder is wanting her to do instead, so that she'll meet those needs and take some new risks, try some new things, and move ahead in recovery. And these skills will also help strengthen relationships among family members, so everybody can move together ahead in recovery.
And I think it's also important to realize the reason these things are so important in the early stages of recovery is that we understand that weight restoration and actually feeding the brain is an important part of the foundation of the therapy that may go on for years afterwards. So that the comment that the mom made in the scenario of it's about your health. It's important to keep coming back to it's about your health. So when parents say you can do it, just one more bite, all of those kinds of things, I think, are showing validation that it's hard, but also that you're going to be with them throughout the entire process. So again, focusing on health in the early phases really kind of moves things forward a lot quicker.
Thanks for spending time with us.